movie. Yay! 73 minutes. I heard the other day that the average length of a movie is now more than 2 hours. I mean, really? Why does it have to be? PG rated. This is a breathtakingly beautiful film about childhood, loss, and memories. And it focuses on an 8-year-old girl's relationship with her mother. Nellie is played by Josephine Sands. She's just lost her grandmother. And she and her mum, Marion, Nina Maurice, and father, Stephanie Varupeni, travelled to the house where Marion grew up to clean it out, because obviously it's where the grandmother lived. Nellie has a close relationship with her mum. Both are, not surprisingly, sad. Nellie's inquisitive. Marion talks to her about what she saw at the bottom of her bed when she was a child. Nellie later asks her father about his childhood fears. She's keen to do just as her mother did by creating a hut in the woods. Then Marion leaves. Mum departs, with Nellie left alone with her father. While exploring in the woods, Nellie meets a girl who looks remarkably like her, and her name, like her mother's, is Marion, played by Gabrielle Sands, Josephine's identical twin sister, and she is the same age as Nellie. The pair drags a branch to the clearing where Marion has already begun to build a teepee out of branches and sticks, so the teepee being the hut, or the reference to the hut. They quickly become firm friends. Their residences look identical, but in Marion's case, she's at home with her mother, played by Margot Abascal, who walks with the aid of a cane. To avoid the fate of her mother, Marion is actually facing an operation in just 3 days' time. While she admits she's scared, she and Nellie play games. They act out, they spend as much time together as they can. So there's this sort of even though it's a short time frame, there's this sort of BFF relationship that develops. I thought that Josephine and Gabrielle Sands are just incredibly photogenic. They're remarkably talented young actors. Their performances are just so natural, they're seemingly effortless. They shine. They take their time, nothing rushed, harried about the way they go about establishing credibility. Throughout the vast majority of this movie, Petite Maman, the lens is on them, and they display light and shade, but also childhood fascination and fun. And I should say Petite Maman, translated into English, reads Little Mum. It is a special movie, Petite Maman, Dave, isn't it?
I haven't actually seen it yet, but I've heard so many great things about it that I can't wait to check it out this week.
Well, Peter, you will no doubt agree with me on this one, surely.
Absolutely. Céline Sciamma is a French filmmaker who is quite significant in terms of the way that she is making her films. I first saw Petite Maman at the virtual Berlinale jury when I was on the Fapreschi jury February last year, and this was such a distinctive and ethereal sort of film. And the interesting thing about Céline as a filmmaker, she made, of course, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which was such a significant and emotional film, which deals with the way characters ingest emotions and ideas and how they express them. And she has gone the other way with Petite Maman to make it a much more subtle investigation of this sort of slightly fantasy-oriented storyline, which is such a beautifully observed one about mother and daughter set in a slightly different context. It really is a superb film. It's a very carefully developed, contained film, and so the narrative works so beautifully in terms of telling this rather beautiful story. I was so impressed by the film that I was surprised that it didn't win a major award at the Berlinale, but nevertheless it is a superb observation of what understanding relationships and mother-daughter relationships can be like in a slightly different context. A superb film.
What did you think of the performances that I've just sort of raved about, Josephine and Gabrielle Sands? Aren't they incredible?
They're terrific. They're very natural, and Celine is so good at directing her actors in forming a natural sort of almost realistic sort of style of performance, which is interesting to layer that over that sort of semi-fantasy element that emerges from the storyline, which I won't reveal too much about. Very, very good performances, yes.
Yeah, authenticity. There's no question about that. Nina Maurice, too, does much with the little screen time that she has. She's the mother. And I mean, it's a special little film. It's got a simple and yet highly effective premise. It is the brainchild of, as you say, Celine Sciamma. And, I mean, she shows total control of her art here. It's beautifully shot by Claire Mathon. It's an exploration of childhood and the mother-daughter relationship that crosses time. And I think it readily taps into our psyche. So you're better off for having seen a movie like this. I mean, you think about Portrait of a Lady on Fire that you referenced, Peter. That received the People's Choice Award, by the way, at the Melbourne Film Festival, Melbourne International Film Festival. That was back in 2019. This is another triumphant production. It really is. It's a really easy watch, and you just want to. I just think you want to see more and more of these two young actors doing what they do so well, and I like that sort of fantasy element to it. It's decidedly different, and it yet works perfectly. So it's rated PG. It's called Petite Maman, and my French pronunciation is not as good as yours, Peter. It only runs for 73 minutes, so please, folks, go along and see it. And I want to score out of 10 from you, Peter.
Definitely 9 out of 10 from me. Great film.
Yeah, agree. It's one of those movies that we talk a lot about independent films and how they are making a huge impact. This one certainly does. So, yes, as I've mentioned, it's a film. It's one of the best films that we've seen this year, without question. Now,